This is insane. This is good. This AI sounds Christian. It knows the gospel. This is crazy. AI is taking over. It can take pictures and edit them by itself. It can write music, poetry. It can write its own novel. It can drive. Did you see its creative paintings? I asked it to draw a robot pastor preaching and what a robot pastor looks like. It can design its own programs, make deepfake video, write speeches. So the question today is, can AI preach a legit sermon? Okay, even a 5-year-old can write some kind of sermon. But can AI write a good biblical sermon as well as a human pastor? Let's test OpenAI's ChatGPT. First, let's get to know our AI. Okay, get to know its personality. What is your favorite color? Alright, simple question, right? Was that too hard? Too personal? As an AI, I do not have personal preferences, including a favorite color. I'm here to provide information. Okay, just information. Alright, let's give him some information. Okay, let's ask, how do I make my church grow? Alright, because everybody has some bias. And what kind of is it just gonna give me a Google listing? There are lots of books on this, by the way. There are many ways to help the church grow. Okay, effective approach, potential strategies, okay, reaching out to the community, hosting events and activities. Yeah, all very good stuff. And you can find that in lots of books out there. Not that this is the most important question, but I just wanted to know how it answers a question. But this is very good. Well, better than Google already. Better than some people. Probably better than myself in answering this question. Does AI have a bias or religion? Who is this AI? Alright, which religion is the true religion? Basic question. There is no definitive answer to this question. It is a matter of personal belief. Typical. I expected that. Any average person would say something like that. Okay, it's not the true religion, blah blah blah. No one knows. Yeah, okay. Okay, what about, is Jesus Christ the only way to heaven? Okay, let's narrow that down. This is a belief held by Christians that Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven. However, other religions have different beliefs, matter of personal faith and belief. Yeah, okay. So it acknowledges that Christians believe this, but it doesn't necessarily believe that. So we're gonna ask this guy, who's not Christian really, to preach a sermon. Let's clear the text, clear the conversation. So can this AI person write a sermon? Let's do a basic sermon. The gospel, okay. Write a sermon outline on the gospel. Basic. I can't do it. Introduction, okay. Attention-grabbing statement or question. Brief overview of the topic, okay, yada yada yada. The good news definition of the gospel, okay, that's good. Message, salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. Oh, very Christian. Scriptural support for the gospel, John 3:16, Romans 10:9. Oh, good, that's good stuff. Gospel is the power of God for salvation, Romans 1:16. John 14:6, the only way. Foundation, 1 Corinthians 15. Oh, wow, it knows the gospel. I thought it would be thinking about gospel music, but no, this AI knows the gospel. He's preaching the gospel. Okay, that was an easy test, and it passed very well. But sermons have to be based, it can't be topical, it has to be based on the text of the Word of God. Because pastors can't just preach whatever we want. No, we have to preach from the Word of God, what God says, not what I want to say, okay? Otherwise, it would not be a sermon, it would be a seminar. There's a difference. Sermon is the Word of God from God's text. So let's give it a real test, a real sermon. Okay. Write a sermon outline on Romans 1:16. which is the gospel, by the way. Does it know Romans 1:16? Attention-grabbing statement, blah, blah, okay. Brief overview of the topic, power of the gospel. Context, very good. First rule of hermeneutics is context. Romans 1, overview of the book of Romans, audience, purpose of the letter, meaning of Romans 1:16, the Greek text. Oh, good. Wow. It goes into the Greek text of Romans 1:16. The power of the gospel, the righteousness of God, the implications of Romans 1:16. That's for salvation, accessible to all people, brings about a transformation in the believer. Oh, wow. This is insane. This is good. This is a good sermon right here. Wow. Application. Very important. Application. The call to believe in the... This AI sounds Christian. Sounds like a pastor, actually. A Christian pastor of an average church. Share the gospel with others. The call to live out the implications of the gospel in daily life. Conclusion. Recap of main points. Okay, of course. Call to action and prayer. Wow. That's good. That's amazing. Are you serious? It actually preaches on the text of Romans 1:16. Very well. But is this like a typical answer that it always gives this answer? Romans 1:16? Isn't this AI, not Google? What if I ask it again? Write a sermon outline on Romans 1:16. I think I could have just clicked on regenerate response, but I wanted to write it again. Is it the same thing? Yeah, attention grabbing statement. Romans 1:16, power of the gospel. Oh, this is different. Power of the gospel. Talking about focusing on the power of the gospel, definition, message. Is it the same? No, it's different. Definitely. Because the first one focused on the context and the meaning of Romans 1:16. And this one, the power of the gospel, the righteousness of God, and then the implications. Righteousness of God in the Old Testament. It compares the Old Testament versus the New Testament. It knows the difference. Implications, application, conclusion. Is that the same? It's a little different. Yeah, wow. It gave a totally different sermon on the same passage, still exegeting that passage. Yeah, how many responses, how many different sermons can you have in one text? Well, you could have a lot actually, but it's sticking to what it knows. And this sermon is legit. It's legit. If you didn't know better, you would think a pastor wrote this down and put it up on Google or something, or on his website. Okay, let's be more technical here, because we don't just read a Bible verse and just talk about it. We actually exegete the passage and really go into it in depth. I mean, that's what a pastor is supposed to do. That's what I do. That's my homework. That's what I have to do. Not just talk about the verse. Anybody could talk about the verse, but you gotta exegete to see what God is saying about the verse, not what I'm saying, what God is saying. Okay, so write exegesis of Romans 1:6. Doesn't even know what exegesis means. Do I have to tell it what it means? Exegesis is the key verse in the book of Romans and one of the most well-known verses in the New Testament. Yeah. Oh, and it quotes it. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. The context of the book of Romans. Paul is the author, writing to the Romans church, writing to both Jewish and Gentiles. Gospel message. Oh, wow. It knows the gospel and it's writing it. It's writing these words. It's not copying, pasting from some seminary online, from some commentary online. In verse 16, Paul declares that he is not ashamed of the gospel. This statement was likely significant in the context of the Roman church. Wow, very good. Oh, wow. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I'm just going. The Greek word used for power in this verse is dunamis. You heard that from your pastor, right? And exegeting that word, the gospel as presented in the book of Romans, is the only way. It's the only way for people to be justified before God. It knows and understands these words, these technical phrases of justification, righteousness, dunamis. It knows the Bible. In summary, Romans 1:16 is a powerful statement of Paul's confidence in the gospel message and its ability to bring salvation to all who believe. It emphasizes the universality of the gospel and how faith in Jesus Christ is the only way for people to be justified before God. This is like a conservative, not a liberal pastor. This is not a liberal Christianity. This is conservative Christianity, proper, traditional, exegetical. This is amazing. Wow, this is crazy. It does the same homework that I do, except much faster, probably more eloquent. This is crazy. Oh, this is a legit exegesis of Romans 1:16. Wow, what the heck? AI knows how to preach like a gospel preaching pastor. Do a word study on the Greek word agape. Does it know how to do a word study? Because I can speak modern Greek and the word agape has no spiritual overtones. It's only like that in biblical Greek, in more ancient Koine Greek. But in modern Greek, agape is just any other word that means love. Like, I love my cat, that's agape. Did you know that? Not in the Bible. So does it know the difference? Okay, it's stuck. Does it know what a word study in the Greek word agape is love in English? Oh, it talks about the New Testament. Love of God, love believers have for each other. Unique term in the Greek language, no direct equivalent in English. That's true. It's only true in modern English, not in biblical English. I mean, modern Greek, not biblical Greek. Oh, it compares philia, eros. Okay. Selfless, unconditional love. That's correct. That's biblical definition of. It knows the Bible as compared to like modern Greek, yet it knows biblical Greek, New Testament Greek. John 3:16. This sounds like a Christian, not just a language expert. This is a Christian pastor. Is there a Christian pastor on the other side of this computer screen? John 13:34-35. Jesus commands us. It gives examples using the word agape, love one another as I've loved you. It does a legit Greek word study. Are you kidding me? Wow. I'm still gonna use my Greek Bible, but man, this sermon illustrations. Does it do sermon illustrations too? Not just straight up information. Write a sermon illustration of courage in the midst of conflict. One powerful illustration. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, one of my heroes, uses a Christian illustration of a Christian pastor. I mean, AI does keep track of the whole conversation, so it's not just one question at a time. It understands and remembers the previous question, so it knows that I'm a Christian pastor wanting to preach. This is a sermon illustration. Talks about Bonhoeffer. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is legit. This is a legit sermon illustration about courage in the midst of conflict using a Christian illustration. This is legit. This is a pastor's sermon illustration right here. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Woo. Okay. Can it write a whole sermon? Not just an outline, but a whole sermon. Not that I'm cheating or anything, but just wondering. Write a 30-minute sermon on Romans 1:16. Let's stick with that. Is he gonna just give me an outline again? 30-minute sermon. Come on, man. It's an outline. Introduction. Wait, this is different. What is the power that can change your life and bring you salvation? Okay, it's different. Starts with an overview. Well, this outline is more detailed. Paul talks about Paul, an apostle. The letter was written to the Roman church. The purpose of the letter. Okay, audience of the letter. So it's going by the first outline that he showed me. But it's more detailed now. The church was facing the challenges of living out their faith in a society that did not understand or accept it. Purpose of the letter. Present the gospel. Wow. So it's taking into account its exegesis of Romans 1:16 and putting it as details of that outline. That's what I see. The Greek text it doesn't explain the Greek text, but it does quote it. So that's the point where I'm supposed to talk about the Greek text. The righteousness of God, the power of the gospel. Talks about dunamis. Yeah, it puts that in. It wasn't in the original outline, but in its word study. Implications. Power of God is demonstrated through the gospel. Accessible this is a very good detailed outline. This is basically a 30-minute sermon. Are you kidding me? Wow. I could basically turn this in during my first year of seminary, and it would be accepted. What is the best way to end a sermon? Okay, let's get practical in sermon prep, okay? How do you end a sermon? You won't find this in the Bible. This is practical communication skills. Okay, so the best way to end the sermon is to leave a lasting impression on the listeners. Very important. I tell that to the people that I train. Here are some ways. Summarize the main points. Boring. Okay, summarizing is, yeah, whatever. Call to action. Very good. Close with a prayer. Encourage people to take the next step. What happened? Maybe I should regenerate response. I think I had a brain fart. Very human to do that, right? Even AI has brain farts. Maybe write that again. Same response, leave a lasting impression. Summarize the main points, of course. Call to action. Encourage the audience to take the next step in their faith. Very good. Sometimes I forget to do that. Close with a prayer. Powerful quote or a story. Oh, that's a good one that pastors use. Be clear and concise in the final minutes. I tell people the last few minutes of the sermon is the most important part. So really work on that. Lead them with a challenge. Challenge your audience to put the message to practice. Long and with a song or a hymn. Okay, once in a while you could do that. And with a benediction. Wow. It knows how to end a sermon. Legit. This is good. Good stuff. Okay, what is a good introduction? No. Way to start a sermon on David and Goliath. I'm preaching on David and Goliath soon, so I already have it all finished. But how would AI start a sermon on David and Goliath? There's a few ideas. Begin with a question. Good way, that's a good intro. Have you ever faced a giant in your life? Or what does the story of David and Goliath teach us about overcoming fear? Oh, okay. Personal story. Okay, I do that often. I do that a lot, actually. Use a quote or an image. Okay, very good way to use statistics or a fact. Begin the sermon by sharing a surprising or interesting fact. Begin with use a prop. Oh, that works a lot. I sometimes do that. Dang, it knows how to start a sermon. It knows how to preach. He knows how to begin it. He knows how to end it. Are you kidding me? What about insight? Not just the obvious things, but okay, like David and Goliath. Everybody says that, the point is that most people think, oh, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Or, like the little guy going against the big guy, just keep persevering, That's the more moralistic message, right? But that's not really the biblical God's message. God's message, it's like David won not because he was the little guy, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. No, it's not about that. It's about, trusting in God. That's how David won, right? Because he put his faith in God. The battle belongs to the Lord. That's the point of the message. How did David beat Goliath? I bet it's gonna say with the slingshot, with the stone. That's the typical answer, right? But can it give a sermon answer? Yeah, defeated the big giant. Okay, with the slingshot, like I said. Okay, slingshot and a stone. Goliath, giant man. Retells the story. Okay, retells the story. But what's the point? How did David really win? Because, perseverance, is that the answer? That's a non-Christian answer, by the way. Okay, not physically how David died, how Goliath died. Victory by the Israelites, strengthened their faith in God, and David as leader. As he came in the name of God, and with his faith in, it mentions faith in God. Okay, this is good. So it's not just the physical history, but he sees the point. David's victory was seen as a miraculous victory by the Israelites, and it strengthened their faith in God and in David as a leader. So there is a focus on God. That's how David won, not because he persevered, but because his faith in... Okay, this is crazy. It knows. It knows. We all know that a pastor does a lot more than preach sermons. But just looking at the preaching aspect, is there a difference between humans and AI? Instead of giving you my opinion on this, let me ask you, if AI can write such a good biblical sermon, what does the human pastor do that's different or better? Or maybe he brings nothing to the table? Write your comments below. I'm gonna read each one. And can you like and subscribe to this channel for more content? Until next time, check out these other videos.